The Dollar Tree announced their earnings the other day, and price collapsed almost $20 on the day. However, for the bulls, price is nearing a major resistance support area at the 120 level. However, before we continue with the analysis, let's look at this article. It is coming from Yahoo Finance. Dollar Tree added locked cases, removing items from stores amid rising theft costs. Dollar Tree said Thursday it is taking steps to combat a growing problem across the retail space. Shoplifting, or as they call shrink, as the industry calls it. Value retailers' stock sank more than 12% on Thursday after posting a weaker than expected forecast and a decline in gross margins due to a customer shift towards consumables and elevated shrink. Unfortunately, the headwinds we're having in shrink are muting our margins right now, the CEO said, Jeff Davis, as he spoke to analysts on the earnings call on Thursday. So when it comes to shrinkage hurts margins. As an example, the company's gross margins of 29.2% in the latest quarter declined 220 basis points from the same period last year, and we're shy of consensus expectations of 29.7%. Now, this is off 0.5%, but when you're talking millions, tens of millions of dollars, that adds up. An unfavorable sales mix as consumers continue to spend more on low margin perishables is also impacting Dollar Tree's bottom line. You see across the retail landscape, people are moving more into consumables, and we are not immune to that, the CEO said. We are now taking steps, defensive steps to shrinkage, the CEO said. I do not see any trouble to getting to more realistic margin levels. In response to the company's plan to introduce anti-theft initiatives, including moving certain items behind the checkout stand and moving some SKUs altogether. All right, this is an issue across the nation, across all retailers. Before we continue with the analysis, let's look at this quick video coming from Yahoo themselves.
It also saw its inventory hit by theft. That's a concern for many of the retailers that have been reporting this season, including Dick's Sporting Goods and Target. Those shares down some 10% here. It's interesting because on the call, CEO Rick Dreiling said that Dollar Tree is positioned to bring in wealthier shoppers. That's something that Walmart had talked about as well. But if your costs are going up, then that doesn't necessarily help matters.
Yeah, for a company that's focused on keeping everything below or around $1, they've added in terms of the kind of pricing mechanisms and trying to also welcome some higher income shoppers. They've added $3, $4, and $5 frozen and refrigerated items to a little over 1,600 of their Dollar Tree stores. They also are in a heavy kind of spending phase. And if you think back to Adrian Yee, who joined us earlier this week to talk about where companies are making some of these strategic investments and how that could impact margins in the near term, they're looking at these store renovation projects. They completed about 276 rather of them in this most recent quarter. But those renovation projects, I think for investors, they're going to be looking across, all right, where do we get to the completion rate, where do we get to the completion stage of that and see the benefits on the other side, and at the same time where they're expanding some of their multi-price plus offerings to 715 additional dollar stores as well.
Right, and they're also spending more on wages apparently. They're selling general and administrative costs, 25.3% of total revenue. It was 24% a year earlier. The third quarter forecast for earnings per share is at most $1.04. Analysts have been looking for $1.29.
So prices entering on the monthly chart this resistance support band. Let's take a little closer look. Let's scroll down to the weekly chart. And what I see on the weekly chart is just price making lower highs. Now, when I look at the weekly chart, I do see a gap. So let's put a line. Now all gaps get filled at some point. Now this gap signifies there is no buyers in this area. So the only thing that's protecting this 120 level is what was previous resistance. So the 120 level is an interesting level because you have a gap, but you do have previous resistance. All right, let's go down to the daily chart. And we're going to use the rule of 3. After earnings, wait for 3 days to get some type of indication of where price is heading next. Now, technically, personally, I would want to wait. Price is at 124.44. I would want to wait for a couple dollars lower. Again, key level being 120. Retail's not looking great this time of year, although you are entering the holiday season. Consumers are scrutinizing their wallets, but you also have to deal with this theft across the nation. However, things can get interesting if price gets down to this 115 level. Again, that's where the gap fill is. I will be watching Dollar Tree along with other retailer stocks over the next couple of weeks, and we'll provide an update. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Please like the video.